What's up, everybody? Tarris Horton here with our Blended Journey podcast. It's our first episode, and I'd like to welcome everybody to our first episode of our Blended Journey podcast. I'm here with my wife, my lovely wife, Tammy Horton. How are you today, honey?
I'm doing good, sweetheart. Thank you.
So we're going in here. We're sharing this to everybody. This is our first episode, and tonight, I guess what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to talk about our vacation and our honeymoon that we went on. We went to Vieques, Florida, and we had a great time doing that. Going in here and changing some privacy settings. Public and let's go. All right, looks like we are live and we're ready to go to get into the programming. And if you're out there and you want to leave a comment or let us know that you're watching, we are watching the comments and the like buttons and stuff like that. So if you're sticking around, let us know that you're here. First episode of our Blended Journey podcast. Hope that you guys enjoyed the programming you've been enjoying. How have you enjoyed this so far, honey?
It's been an interesting journey. I'm still trying to get acclimated doing this, but I'm excited to be doing it.
Awesome. Well, which part would you like to go and do first? Just jump right into this and go into the. I got something we can start off with. We can start off with a little bit of.
Oh gosh, the terrible plane ride.
Let's start off with the plane ride. Let's see here. Let me get this. Maybe I can get it back.
Once I get you up there, where the air is rarefied,
I was terrified.
we'll just glide.
How are you feeling?
Once I get you up there,
And we did a couple.
I'll be holding you so near. You may hear together, weather-wise, it's a lovely day. Just say the words and we'll beat the birds down to our...
It's not working very well there.
Not working very well.
But we don't need the volume. But okay, how are you feeling in this moment right here? Whenever we were taking that plane ride, and it's our first time on a Cessna like that. It was my first time. How are you feeling? And this is when we landed in Vieques, so we can run that back.
It was scary at first, but once we got up in the air, it was neat to see everything through the window because it wasn't, of course, as high up as a traditional plane that we have been on. It was this takeoff. It was scary at first. It was so hot. Do you remember how hot it was in that plane?
You remember when the pilot had his? I think hopefully this will run back again too. When the pilot, he had the window open. If you can see in the beginning right here, like you can see where the pilot. I can't run it back, but the pilot had the window open when he first started going. So it was kind of neat to see him do that. Did you feel safe the entire time that we were up there in the air?
Safe is a big word. That's a big word. At first, no.
Right.
Because I catastrophize. That's part of my journey of what I've got through. So I'm like, okay, the plane's going to go down. We're going to get eaten by sharks. That's and that goes. But once it leveled out after takeoff, I was fine, and I didn't have any apprehension when you booked it for us to come back either.
Yeah, but then that dude, that particular time when we were on our way back, the engine was acting funny. So it was like, oh my goodness, we never experienced anything like that before. And I'm glad after talking to my friend who's a pilot, he said that if one engine doesn't start, the other engine will. So that brings more. But would you do it again?
Absolutely, 100%. As long as the pilot was, and we saw the pilot several times on the island running and doing various activities, and he was around our age, so I felt safer because he wouldn't put his life at risk.
Right. That's the first thing whenever I was talking to my pilot, Matt. I don't know if Matt's watching or not or will watch this, but the first thing when I was talking to Matt, he said, how old was he? And I said, he was about our age. He said, yeah, he probably wouldn't go up in the air that way.
Right.
A part of our Blended Journey podcast, we are going to try to learn from each other as we go. And today's programming, we're going to go over what we like our vacation, and then we're also going to go over a few other things like this right here is a checklist that we found to things to discuss whenever you're about to enter into a blended family. So out of this list, I guess we're going to go through them one by one and talk about them and how what we did. Like I said, like we've always said, this is not a podcast where we're trying to teach anybody or anything, or like not teach anybody, but we're not trying to coach. I don't even know the words to say. We're just going to go through this with ourselves, and we're going to talk about what we did and hopefully have a good conversation with this. Whenever you're discussing how to different parenting styles, how do you think that we adjusted, like when we were blending our family as far as like discussing our parenting styles? Because no doubt that we have two different parenting styles. How do you feel we discuss that?
I think we had difficult times. I think, when we started our journey together, I still had an adult kid at home. And then when he moved out, one of your adult kids moved in that exact same day. And so our parenting styles are a little different. I've appreciated the male perspective that you've brought to our family and to our son. Because we're empty nesters now, we don't have a lot of parenting stuff that really comes up a lot.
Yeah, not like anything for. I mean, maybe when we have our grandkids running around, that's whatever. But like parenting, adult parenting is just like how we blend into our adult parenting. I mean, we still have a high schooler that goes to high school, so having to blend that time and share that time with sports and activities whenever like your kids are adults and you don't have to do that. So I mean, but it's a conversation that. It's a much needed conversation that people should have. You should discuss, I believe, the different parenting styles.
I think so. And I think, with one of ours still being in high school and the sports thing, that's not a background that I had any familiarity with. And so I think for me, it's going to the sports when it's available for me to go, depending on what scheduling it is. And being okay with you traveling with the kids when they have sports and stuff. I mean, that's never been a huge, and it made me giggle because I think about our parenting styles are so different and how that plays out with our animals.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess that's why people blend their animals together and everything. Yeah, too. So that's just something that we could that's something the parenting styles that should be discussed. Have you established clear communication channels? That's number two. I mean, like as far as our relationship, do you feel like that I feel like we've got excellent communication channels. Both of us are excellent communicators. So there's not a time that I feel like I can't communicate with you.
No, I think we have difficult conversations.
Yeah.
We do. We talk about, I've talked about it with you a couple of times today. Unfortunately, I have you to go through this journey of the beautiful word of menopause. And so I hope to bring that to our program as well as the male's perspective. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, it's something that a lot of people don't even think about. I mean, like in the perimenopause, the thing that we go through in our family, like being a man, I have no clue. I'm just open to learn to be more as of a supportive person. So there's right there lines of communication and how we're blending our journey together is because, like you're going through certain things and I'm going through certain things and just having the clear communication. I think that's very important to have a clear communication on how to.
Well, I think we just had an example of that prior to doing this where I snapped at you, right? And so that's something that we need to call each other out on. And I feel that we share that space to do so.
Absolutely.
And also, thinking about hormone replacement therapy and the testosterone, I just did it Friday and it's getting amped up in my system and I feel it. And I'm not cognizant of how I'm speaking to you. And I know that's where it's coming from. So bringing that awareness to me, like, hey, you just snapped at me.
Yeah. And that's a good place to be. I mean, as well as it's a great place to be. This is a good one. Have you established household rules, responsibilities, everything?
I clean the house.
Everything in our house is established by household rules and and responsibilities.
I mean, I clean the house. I
There's
take care of the animals. You take care of the yard. I mean, I think one of our talked about and not talked about household rules is alcohol.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a good one.
Mhm.
Like we don't have alcohol in this house, and that's a good thing. It's the first house that I've been in my lifetime, but like it's been pretty much alcohol. Well, I don't know. That's a good one right there. I was thinking more like a chores, like the yard. There's like one thing that I really am adamant about is I like for our yard to be very aesthetically pleasing to the eye when you're driving up, and you like our house to be a certain way whenever you're inside. So, I mean, I think that's something that in blending your journey, I think that's something that should be discussed. If you establish household rules and responsibilities, that's a really good one. Have you discussed education and schooling arrangements? When you're blending families together, that's something that you got to, take in consideration. Like, what kind of schooling would they go to? Do they go to private school? Are they going to go to, public school? Or, those are certain things that, like, what about our schooling? Like both of us have continued our education since we've been together.
Absolutely. Honey, I need to grab the dog. He's eating cat food.
We both blended our families while we've been together. So it's been one thing that we've had to been able to like take and discuss our educational arrangements together. So what I'm going to do now is that we went through 1 through 4. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move us along to another video for. You had to bring the dog on camera with us.
I did. But to go back to the question you were just on about education, I've gone back to school since we've been together. So that was a conversation to have about the expense and the cost. And you've been back to school since we've been together.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like we've both been back to school since we've been together. It's something we had to. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to go through our video of us going when we first got to. Let's see if I can get this louder. So what's going on here with you? I think this is when we first got to Sea Glass Beach, and that property right there was for sale, and then that guy was out there weed eating. This is when we were approaching Sea Glass Beach when we came from the other side. Do you remember that part?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then with and that building right there was for sale, right there in the corner.
I think this was the part where we're both, at the beginning of the vacation, like, that's it, we're moving here.
Yeah.
By the end of the week, we're like, no.
Yeah, first thing we first get there, because that's the property right there that you saw that you liked that was for sale, and then this is the one way. That's where we were going to Sea Glass Beach. Yeah, and you get a lot of when we were there was a lot of Jeep rentals and a lot of people that were driving. Is when you drive in Puerto Rico, it's like all for yourself. People just go any which way. It's kind of wild. But as you see, as we're approaching, this is at Sea Glass Beach, and then we pull up so you could feed the iguanas or the iguana. Do you remember that part? Well,
yeah, because I fed it cinnamon rolls. And it had little babies with it too.
The iguana did?
Yeah. Remember the little ones came up towards the end.
Oh, I didn't see the little baby iguanas. All I saw was the chickens and those chickens and things. But that's pretty
some
good.
Little babies came up over that hill when we were done.
That's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty neat experience to be able to go through and just like Howard in this situation to be able to be in a. Like I was trying to take over right there. I was like, let me show you how to do it.
Let me show you how to feed the animals. I think it was all a beautiful experience. I think the wildlife there is very unique.
The chickens, they are something to deal with too, man. They are something to deal with, those chickens.
I can still hear the crows in my sleep.
How clear that water is down there. Ooh, what are those pigeons on those things on the water down on the.
There goes the lizard.
Even was more.
Here your roaster. He said, who's eating? Who's eating without me? Here comes a big cock.
There's the big rooster.
Honey, be careful with them cock. Back up.
But that, what do you think he was going to do? That rooster was going
to. Honey.
Like,
okay, when we're approaching this beach, what do you think? I'm
Unreal.
like, oh my gosh.
it was paradise. It was absolute paradise. And when the horse walked down on the beach.
Oh, yeah. That wall. Yeah, I thought he was going to eat our food that day. I was like, get away from my peanut butter and jelly. That's what I was saying. Like,
Sea Glass Beach.
that was wild.
Look at that cliff over there. That's so beautiful. This is paradise. Yeah, this is me peeing in the ocean.
So yeah, so so all the beaches that we went to, this is the first one we went to is Sea Glass Beach. So if we're rating the beaches, how do you rate this one?
That one's second to the sea turtle one.
The sea turtle one. So we got to get to the sea turtle one, but the Sea Glass Beach, this one was the one that we went to this beach twice.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the beach that was closer to town. I don't know if you can see behind me. There's a map behind me of the Vieques, but there's two major cities. There's Inspirada, which is like the part that we stayed in, and we'll have more footage of that maybe in the next episode. But there's Inspirada and there's Isabella, and Isabella is the place to where we're the look at that. We're in the ocean canoodling. Isabella was the place. Isabella is the place to where they had where the grocery store was at, and where we get the I guess the central business district was, where they had like the place of the restaurant we went to the one time as well.
Mm-hmm. And we bought a lot of some trinkets from the gift stores or souvenir stores there, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that where we got the wind chimes?
I believe so. I believe we got the wind chimes there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go to the second one. Day 2. Day 2. I think that at the start of day 2, we went to. This is when we were going to go to to watch the sunset. Remember that, honey?
Oh yeah.
The first day when we were going to Mosquito Bay, and then on the way back we ran into some horses, more horses for you to feed. I think this is the one that allowed you to feed when you allowed you to feed it.
With the sugar-free cookies that I got at the store that were gross.
That's still pretty cool right there to be able to have that experience where you can we're riding up on a Jeep and just be able to feed a horse. It's like unreal.
It was so beautiful. Like I can't wait till we go back next year. Next year. That was a long vacation.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about that. I mean, I'm trying to pull some combo out of you about the like when I don't want to hog the conversation. Is what I'm trying not to do. I'm not trying to hog the conversation.
I think what we learned from this experience, like I said, in the first couple of days, we're like, oh my God, let's look at real estate and see what that is. But by the end of the vacation, we go to farmers markets. We do a lot of things where we live so close to Cincinnati. We go to festivals and we play volleyball on Friday nights, and we're very active. And so there wasn't much to do but to go to the beach.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we can do. And it was so hot. And when we get there, it's so hot to deal with it. I mean, those are the negatives. This is whenever we were going to Caracas Beach. I think it's where we were trying to find. This is the day before La Shiva. This is La Shiva. No, this is the day we found La Shiva.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beach with the sea turtles. That's the one with the sea turtles.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorites.
I mean, I never had the experience where you're just in the water and sea turtles just pop up. Now I've gone. Was it scuba diving? What is it?
See, it's from the Navy. Vieques. Don't touch them. They got some leftover.
Yeah, I've seen turtles, but never just being floating in the water and they just would pop up.
That sign that we saw that we were just walking by, that was a sign that was talking about how there was bomb shellings, like there were shellings around there, because I think we're at the beach that we just went to. the Navy used to use it as a here. That was our tour guide right there. They used to use that as like a bombing place, but then now, what's the good thing about that is there's all this those canopy things are similar to the ones that they have on military bases, those shelters. So it was pretty cool to be able to go to something like that and have that whole shelter to yourself, and that was pretty wild.
Beautiful.
And it was a good thing that when we were pulling in, when it like you went to go ask them, and they were leaving, and there was a perfect place for us to go park for our beautiful day at the beach.
And they are the ones that told us there were sea turtles.
Yeah, that's right.
They were very nice.
Yeah, there was a lot of nice people there at that beach that day, or this entire trip. But I agree with you. With it was hot, and we're spoiled. That's the only way I can think about it. Like we're pretty spoiled when it comes to like being in America, and I love Kentucky, and I don't want to live anywhere else. But like when we first got there, we're like, oh yeah, we got to live here, and that's how close we were. We were able to back the Jeep up right to the beach and walk right onto the beach, and it was beautiful, 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 beautiful sand, beautiful water. Yeah, that's day number 2. So, and then after day number 2, I'll go into day number 3. I'll just keep this thing going.
What day was it that we decided, no, we're not living there?
I think that's going to be I think it's day number 5.
And I wonder, our hosts were so amazing. I wonder what they do. I mean, we know that they both work in something.
So this is the day, right? This is when we're going to Black Sand Beach. So when we went to Black Sand Beach, we started off with a chase. She said it's 2 girls. I think it was a guy and a girl wanted to go, and the guy was trying to get it on with her. But we make our way to Black Sand Beach, and when we were going to these beaches, we would pack full day gear like chairs, drinks, food, noodles, blankets, and then when we get to the beach, we would chill out for the day. But this particular beach, mission to Black Sand Beach, we had to hike what was it, 15-20 minute mile hike.
Yes, it was. It was very hot and dirty and carrying armfuls of stuff.
Did you like it better than the first time that when we went to Puerto Rico for our honeymoon? Did you like that better this time or the first time?
We were in a different place. I think we stayed on the main island.
Well, I mean the hiking part of it, because this part right here, to see Black Sand Beach, it was amazing. But this hike, the hike is extremely sped up because this was a long hike.
I mean, it was
all the stuff. I'm going to pause this so you can see how much stuff that you had in your hands. Did you see how much stuff you had?
No, I just remember it.
Wow. That's a lot of stuff you had in your hand. I'm going to try to pause it so you can see, so we can talk about that right there. That's a lot of stuff. And you got 2 chairs and 2 noodles.
Mr. Horton, what were you carrying?
Exactly. That's my whole point of this thing.
I knew it.
Being your husband, and that's just to say that how much that you were carrying. That being your husband, I had backpack full of everything and another thing. So if you had that much and I had all that kind of stuff, that's just to put in retrospect to how much stuff we had to carry to Black Sand Beach to get there. And in this part, I was like, this is when you got there and it stunk.
Whoa. I mean, it definitely, the hike through the rainforest was an amazing experience that we did on our honeymoon. Jumping off the cliff was not something I was impressed by and probably will never do again. However, I would hike the rainforest before I would do the bioluminescent bay.
Yeah,
that smell is something I can still not get out of my nose.
Well, in next week's episode, we'll go to the bioluminescent. We'll show people the bioluminescent bay, and then because we just going through day 4. We're up to day 4. This is like when we went to. Well, this is day 3 or day 4. We went to Black Sand Beach. We were there for 6 days, man. That was a long time. So and you can go back and watch all these videos on our live stream on our Journey podcast. We found a spot to sit down, nestle up into where we could have some kind of shade. But there was no shade, and the sun was relentless. So relentless that day.
And we're already burnt that day too. We've already been burnt.
And we're carrying stuff. So we got marks in our arms from carrying stuff and being burnt already, but the water did feel really good and refreshing that day.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite part is whenever my wife gets to write the Horton last name in the sand. It's cute. Mm-hmm. Liked it a lot. Mm-hmm. But how was this day? Were you burnt out at all when you were here at this point? Were you burnt out?
Burnt out or burnt? Sunburnt. There's a difference.
That's neat though, how that sand turns black that way.
It was beautiful. I mean, had we known that much hiking, we would have left our stuff back at the car.
Yeah, we would. Note to anybody that goes to Black Sand Beach and Vieques, all you need is shoes and a shirt. You can jump in the water. By the time you hike back, you're going to be dry because of the humidity and how how the airflow goes in Puerto Rico. It'll be dry by the time you walk back. Mm-hmm. So, writing the Horton in the sand, in the black sand, forever etched. We get to write our name in the sand. That's cute. I don't care what nobody say about that. That was great. And then
we always do that on the beach.
Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm. And then you went back and did it again.
But yeah, but yours always looks better. Yours looked way better than mine did.
No. And then you're being silly with the noodle like a teenage kid.
Yeah, that's and like I said, you can go back and watch all these episodes. It's on our Blended Journey podcast or Facebook pages. Yeah, so that was our first half of our vacation. We're 30 minutes in, honey. How do you feel? It's our first podcast ever, first live show. I know it's a little bit we got to work out some kinks and get a little bit more comfortable, but we are 30 minutes into our first ever live podcast ever. How you feel?
I feel good. I think this is going to be a learning experience for both of us.
In what way?
I think this is only going to make us grow closer and open up more communication, have difficult conversations, and have fun.
How do you feel about like the spotlight being on you so far? Just the little spotlight that we've gotten so far. I mean, like, because people like our videos and like we'll post something and how do you feel about the balance of where we're at now and where do you feel like we're going to go in the future in this podcast world?
Well, that's a good one. I feel that I'm still trying to get acclimated to it. It's something I want to do. And we were on that live podcast last week, and I kind of was introverted at that time. So it's getting used to doing this. I mean, I think it's exciting. It's weird to have the spotlight on me. That's somewhat uncomfortable because we talk about that, within ourselves. It's uncomfortable at times. Mm-hmm. You're used to it. I'm not. Right. You put yourself out there on social media all the time. I'll post a picture of the cat or when I go right? So I think that's where it's different. It's going to take some time to get more comfortable and used to it. And hopefully our conversations develop even deeper.
Right.
I mean, the conversations we have on live, we have deep conversations in our private life.
Right. And then people get to see us grow and develop as a couple for this. I don't know. Maybe we should explain a little bit about what we're doing. I know we just jumped in here and like kind of I started doing programming because I wanted to keep people's attention right off the bat. But people are going to go back and watch this more than the live stream. So I guess it's a good idea to explain what we're doing. Our Blended Journey podcast, we're going to do live shows on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. We're going to do question and answers. We're kind of going to let this thing take a shape of its own. And it's going to be July, August, and September. For the next 3 months, we're going to go live on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. We're going to go live on different locations. And we're going to just attack and talk about different subjects that blended families deal with. Tonight's specific subject is top 10 checklist on things that you might, I'll go over the checklist again so you can see what I'm talking about. like the checklist? Have you discussed parenting styles? Have you established clear communication channels? Have you established household rules? Have you discussed education? Have you, and where we stopped at, I guess we can pick up here and then we can go back into, have you addressed financial responsibilities and planning?
I think we're learning that every day because
Yeah.
financial issues is one of the number one reasons for divorce, right? And so both of us being so independent and then coming together, bringing our, everyone carries their past relationships, what they learned and what they want to change. And we both have different past relationships. And so did that affect us financially, and how are we bringing that forward into our blended journey?
I do believe that it's that we've in my just past experience with us, I've been able to have more of a conversation financially with you than anybody else that I've ever been able. And I gotta say, I forgot to say this. I'm gonna say something. There's no way. I just want to give you some flowers. There's no way that I'd be able to do anything that I do without you. Everything that I do. I mean, I'm so happy that I have you. I feel like you're perfectly molded for me, and that's why I go into the financial thing. I've been able to, we've been able to grow financially together, and because I feel like we were able to have conversations. And like I said, we learn every single day, about how to navigate through our journey together and how we're gonna, like blend families and blend finances and like blend futures together and like have conversations about what's fair for our children and our legacy and our generational wealth. And those are tough conversations that I think that like any couple should have. Go ahead.
I think it, kudos for us in the very beginning of our relationship to say, hey, we need to do couples therapy. So I think that is one area that we have applied and grown from. I think bringing the scarcity, I brought scarcity into our relationship, and you bring the calm. So kudos to you too, because it's really taken a while. I'm not going to admit my faults. It's really taken a while to say I'm safe. I've always been safe with you, but to have those difficult conversations is talking about being safe. I operate up here sometimes, and you always maintain here, and so you help balance that situation.
That's good. I think the financial thing too is like both of us came in with a clear understanding of where we are in business. And I think that's a really, really realistic too. And one thing about like where I'm coming from is we see that there's a divorce rate, a high divorce rate, and what can we do to help curb that? If we look at statistics and we start breaking things down on a whole deeper level, if you look at marriages, 65-70% of marriages end up in divorce, and I don't know those exact. There's that 50.
I think that's a little high. It's a little, now it's 70% or higher women are the ones filing for divorce, but the divorce rate I believe is just a little bit lower than that currently.
I think the one that I seen was for the Black community. It's very high, in that 60%. But that's right. But the divorce rate is really high. And anything that we can do to like kind of promote curbing that, with our Blended Journey podcast and having healthy conversations and healthy communication is something that definitely do that. Talking financially, that's a must.
I think that's one of the tougher conversations we had to learn to have.
I believe we still are learning through it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. I mean, I believe we dance well. I believe we dance well together, but I believe it's still a work in progress. Have you addressed the emotion? Excuse me, the emotional well-being of each family member? What do you think?
I think we do really well at having in-depth conversations about our children. And I think that's where our parenting styles come in a little different when we talk, because I see more from a mom's perspective and a therapist perspective, where you're more of the hard knocks perspective. And I think, And I think we do well with, I check in with you almost daily. How are the boys? What's the updates? How are they doing? And when one of us has a conflict is a strong word. When one of us are off with one of our children, we're there to really talk the other one through it and really and check on each other. How are you doing emotionally? I think that's a question that we both do very well with asking each other.
I think all these questions, they all come back into each other. But like what you said about our parenting styles, because I'm like, I try to be so hard. I try to be so hard all the time. But like what we bring into the relationship just from the beginning, like with you bringing your children and me bringing my children and the children that I don't have a relationship with. Like those are things that I bring into that have guarded me to. I've always felt safe, but never. I can't say safe. I feel safe now, but going into a relationship, like I think that it's with going to a relationship with you and this blended journey, our blended journey together. I'd done so much work on myself that I was willing to. I wasn't gonna go in without setting healthy boundaries to say, hey, this is where I would like to see our family going. And to answer the question, I believe that we have done an excellent job talking about our kids and being good parents and knowing when to step in and knowing when to step out. Hard conversations.
And I think that's where the balance comes in, because you've helped me step away and put my hands up with some of the situations that we've gone through with my biological children.
And same with mine. I mean, like you've sat back and watched me until the point you couldn't, and then you said, hey, oh, you got to stop this. And then I had to sit back and fight it. And then just hard conversations that we're able to have about our kids.
But I think that's where we're different too, because I sit back and watch for a while before I interject, whereas you immediately do.
Yeah, I'm like, nah, I'm like, forget this. We gotta fix this now.
And I think that's where I'll watch you struggle. I've watched you struggle in the past for months with some of your relationships with the boys, and then I'll interject. Whereas when I struggle, you immediately jump in, and I don't want to say fuck them kids, but it's
I know what you're talking. But men try to be fixers all the time. We try to fix everything all the time.
Absolutely.
Have you considered the impact of your previous relationships on your blended family?
Absolutely, we have, and we've talked in depth about it.
We talk about it every day. We talk about. I mean, I think we talked about it earlier today. I mean, I believe that our blended journey together in our past relationships have made us who we are today. I try my hardest not to get stuck. We're human. But I like to be the person when I see you get stuck, I like to say, come on, let's move forward. And if I get stuck, I'd like you to, be the same for me.
And I think that brings up other things to talk about in our future podcast is, our childhoods were drastically different. So I have this world of trauma that I try to let go every day of my life. And so I was very honest and upfront with you when we started dating, like, hey, I'm a survivor of domestic violence. These things have happened to me. My childhood wasn't the best. These things have happened to me. And so I think that's how some of the past relationships shows up. You've had some pretty traumatic adult relationships as well. And so in the future, talking about how coming from a good childhood and not coming from a good childhood, as Vanderkolk says, we reenact our childhood relationships into adulthood till we create a different ending. And so how that's impacted our journey as well, I think that would be something to explore to help other people out there.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great topic to dive into in a future podcast, because I didn't know or even think about it until you brought it up to me, and I didn't know. I feel good to know now that I can educate other people. Like when we were on Jay and Andrew, talking to Jerry and Andrew the other week, you didn't even have to say anything, because I was like, no, dude. Let me show you what I've learned about scores and things like that. So I appreciate you educating me because that gives me another skill set to be able to be a better listener whenever because I'm more hardcore. I'm like, figured out where now I have a better understanding or empathy. Have you built strong foundation of trust and respect? Have you built a strong foundation of trust? Like in our Blended Journey podcast, I feel that I don't trust nobody no more. I don't trust nobody more than I trust you. I feel like you respect me, and that's what men, real men, good men, we thrive off respect. Like that's what we a man wants to be respected. You can just give us respect, and it goes a whole long way. And I feel extremely respected in our Blended Journey. I feel and like if other people are watching and they're going through this and they're like, we're asking these questions, fellas, if you don't feel respected the way that I'm sitting here telling you that you should feel respected by your wife, that's a conversation you guys need to have. And that's one point about our Blended Journey podcast. We want to open up conversations for people because we want relationships. I want my relationship to last forever with my wife. So if I can learn something to make that happen, that's what we're going to do. So I feel, long story short, I feel respected and trusted in our relationship. How about you?
I feel very respected, and I trust you more than anyone else I've ever trusted in my life. I feel that feeling safe for a woman, feeling safe is the most important. And you definitely make me feel safe. And I think validation, like seeing you step up with the mental health conversation on the podcast that we were on last week, I'm like, he listens. You educate yourself when I talk about, hey, there's complex trauma, or let's talk about menopause. Like, you really take the time, and that builds trust. I never question where you are, what you're doing, ever.
You got my GPS location. And for couples out there, like that are watching this, and they be like, "Oh, he's got." Yeah, my wife has my GPS location and can contact me and can get where I'm at all times, and I don't mind that at all.
You have mine. I don't care.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. Like phones, my wife has my password on my phone is the same password as her password on her phone.
But I don't think either one of us have ever looked at each other's phones. There's no need to.
I look at your phone if I need to like do something on your phone, or if I need to but I'm not going through I'm not scrolling through your phone like who's she talking to?
But it brings up the surprise birthday party where I didn't have my phone with me, and I was like, hey, can I text Bailey real quick from your phone? You hand it to me, like, sure. And then you jump over the bed to like snatch it from me, and I'm like, that was very odd.
Very weird. That's not us, so that at that moment I had to tell you that because I was trying to I'll tell the story. I was trying to surprise her birthday to invite her friends over. I took her to canoeing, and then whenever we were coming back, I wanted to have her friends come over and surprise her for her 50th birthday party. And I talked to Bailey about it, and we were working on it. And then she's like, let me see your phone so I can text Bailey. And Bailey was the last person that I had just texted about her birthday party. So if she would have grabbed my phone and she would have looked at it, she would have said, oh, you and Bailey are texting. And then she would have been like, birthday party. Because it was like the text was bold, birthday party. So, then I had to tell her, I was like, look, that's not how we roll. I was trying to surprise you with a birthday party. It did not work. It's over with now because that's just not how we. So the trust and respect thing, I think that's, and once again, fellas, if you don't feel trusted and respected in your relationship, find your voice and find your cojones and your communication skills to be able to articulate to the woman that you stood up in front of God and your friends and everybody that's decided to be your wife. Find a way to connect with her and talk to her.
Honey, I think that goes for women as well, but I'm kind of concerned. You're kind of sounding like that Good.
The lady.
Yes.
The therapist lady. The one lady.
Oh, yes.
Hey,
But I think
hey, garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in, garbage out. That's what they say, right? When I'm listening to it, when you were talking about how that's like when you say whenever you talk to me about anything, I immediately start to research it, and I'll go days and days and days researching it. What I put in comes out.
But I think trust and respect is how we have the difficult conversations. Without that, we would come together defensively in anything we had to talk about. So I think trust and respect should be mutual, and that opens up good communication, because without that, we wouldn't be able to talk about finances or parenting or retirement or businesses if we didn't have trust and respect for each other.
Great answer, my dog. Great answer. All right, the next one is have you addressed cultural and religious differences? Have we? Yeah, we have. We discussed cultural and religious differences as much as we possibly could. We did it in an episode. We did it in an episode. If people want to go back and watch that one, if you want to do a recap, I'm a conservative, a black conservative. I'm not a Christian. I'm more Nation of Islam, but I believe in Jesus and God and all that stuff. But I'm but I'm more non-denial. I don't know what I would call myself, but
You don't have to identify with anything. It's your relationship with whoever you want it to be. And if that relationship was with yourself, then it's with yourself.
exactly. I got a relationship with my God is in here with me, and Bob Marley's with me, and all my friends and families with me. Inside of my heart, my God. That's where I'm
I
at.
think our conversations will get a little bit more interesting as this election continues and the Supreme Court stuff that's going on. And we do bring a lot of different cultural and religious views to the table. It works for us, and I think it works for us because we trust and respect each other.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you're full of shit because you're Republican, Trump voting, whatever. Like, you do you. And I'll do me without being disrespectful.
So how I mean, just 4 years ago, we're not far removed from if you vote a certain way or if you have a certain political affiliation, you could be canceled. You could be lied on. Your business could be anything. And I'm not just saying about it on a Democratic side, on a Republican side too. Like if you're a Republican, Democrats would cancel you. If you're a Democrat, Republicans would cancel you. How ridiculous is that? I mean, because it's always been ridiculous to me. I mean, has it always been? Well, I mean, for you, yeah, because you're how you. But can you explain that kind of thought process?
I lost you.
Okay, but 4 years ago, people who had different political ideations or ideologies
It tore up families.
I
watched it as a therapist. We were in the pandemic, we're locked down.
That's what I wanted to talk about. That's what I want you to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it tears up families, and still to this day, some families don't talk because of it. And that is one thing. My family's vastly different religiously and politically than I am. We still love each other. We just have the agreement. We don't talk about it.
So from your standpoint, because I've never have understood why someone would be mad at me because of my political affiliation, but
it's the same. I mean, it's not okay. I want to take back. It's not the same. I'm not comparing the two by any means. It floors me that who you love breaks up families. So why would it break up families with politics, right?
Oh, that's a great point.
It doesn't shock me that it happens per se, because I hear it every day with the clients I work with, that because of who they love or whatever they identify with, it's a plethora of things, they get alienated by their families, they get rejected. So it doesn't surprise me that families break up because of political differences. And I keep seeing the therapist threads. We're preparing ourselves. We have to hold the space to have the conversations. However, we have to have boundaries about the conversations, because a lot of the last election, a lot of sessions were spent on what happened.
I've noticed that they haven't done as much as visceral reaction stuff this election, because it's like yet. I mean, it's still June, last June, or the election before 2020. June is where they started ramping things up. Whenever they started, the George Floyd thing happened, they started pouring gasoline on the Breonna Taylor thing. Now, from my opinion, with the debates and how they got Biden looking, it's gonna be something else. I just don't know what it is, and I just hope that this time around, by me asking that question, I hope by this time around, if we can touch anybody or we can reach anybody and be a positive, not role model, a positive light to say, these two people love each other and they got completely different political ideology. It can be done. It can definitely be done.
But I think it's to let the ego go. And I think it's the difference between, we had this conversation earlier outside, the fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Those are the two types of mindsets that we're dealing with. And in a growth mindset, we're able to see through the other person's lens. We may not agree with it, but we can see through it. That's the difference. With
one thing that we talked about whenever, like before our podcast, I said that if I was a white female, that I would be a Democrat, and you said that you don't know that you would be if you were a black conservative, if you would be.
If I was a black man, I would be conservative. I don't know if I would be.
The reason why I said that I would be a black, I mean, let me get this right. I got to say this completely right. I said that I would be a Democrat if I was a white woman. Correct? That's what I said. The only reason I said that is if I was a white woman, I'd be a lesbian because I like women.
Okay, that's not right.
So if I was gay, I would lean. If I was a white woman, I would probably be a lesbian white woman. So I would lean.
So you would let your sexual identity influence you on what political party you would associate with?
If I was a white woman and I identified as someone in the LGBTQ community, and I was a white woman, and I seen the progression of the parties and the way the parties were moving, and I had the knowledge and the education and the willingness to research politics the way that I do, and if I was a white woman and I was a lesbian, I would definitely align myself up with the Democratic Party because they have more of the policies and they write the legislation and they have all the things and the backing that lean more toward that kind of ideology. Maybe a back conservative.
They lean more towards caring about people.
They lean more. The Democrats lean more toward the rights, and they advocate and they fight more for the rights of the LGBTQ community.
They fight more for the rights of a lot of communities.
Yes,
not just LGBTQIA.
That's subjective. That's subjective. That's it. But explain, please explain, because I think that the left leaning parties, they have more of an agenda for women, LGBTQ.
Because look what's happened to women's rights. Somebody has to advocate. Look what the Supreme Court did. Yes, they care more about women's rights. I feel like the conservative males care more about the white population, like building the white population, doing away with abortion.
So that's why I would be that's why I would be a liberal if I was a white woman, because I would lean more toward that than lean more toward.
I still can't see why, if I was a black male, why I would ever be conservative. I just can't.
Everybody's allowed to do their thing. Everybody's allowed to believe their way that they. But see how we just worked through that right there, and like, I mean, I'm not going to try to convince you.
I would never try to convince you either. And the thing is, I've noticed when we have these difficult conversations, we end up laughing at the end.
Yeah.
What we're talking about.
No, it's not that important. It's not. I mean, it's important, but it's not. I ain't gonna be like, my old lady's a liberal. I'm about to leave all these good things, these good qualities she has, because she votes different than me. It just doesn't make logical sense to me, because it don't matter. Our votes cancel each other out. That's your dad said, right? Our votes cancel each other out. Have you sought, number 10, have you sought professional guidance or counseling?
Absolutely, we have. That was one of the first things when we started dating. What's your thoughts on going to couples therapy?
And when we got married, we went to couples therapy. We got 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes for our hours up, before our first. We've completed our first podcast, our first live show. And I appreciate you doing this with me, honey. And I know.
And I appreciate you putting all this together and all the hard work you've done on the videos and your editing skills. I really appreciate the environment that you've created for us, sweetheart.
Strong, honey. Couples therapy. I didn't like it. I still don't like it. And see, that's a difference between you and I. I don't like couples therapy. I think it's for me. I thought our relationship was great until we went to couples therapy.
The point of couples therapy is to find out where the issues are and work on them. And I have a couples therapist. So when I see a couple, I'm like, okay, part of this process is tearing you down and rebuilding you up in a healthier way. I think Linda gave us great guidance. I think her views on menopause, her views on trauma really helped educate you and helped you start doing your own research on it. I mean, and then I love our therapist. I think she's just amazing. And then you just did a check-in with, I'm doing some individual work in therapy. I'm not ashamed to say that every therapist needs a therapist and we all need to do the work. And working on some of those things, you did a check-in with us last week, and that it really made me feel good when you said, hey, your next session, I want to go with you. So even though you feel like you didn't like it, you're still willing to attend.
Yeah, I'm willing to go. I mean, but I just like when we're being honest and realistic about the therapy, I feel like we could do that. We don't need it, but
everyone needs it. Everyone needs third party.
Okay, how can I articulate this a way that I can? Because there's no way I can articulate it in a way that's going to make it sound right. But it's because, okay, here's what I can say. I don't like it because it's tough. I think we can get through it. I think there's a better way to get through it than to take it and rip your Band-Aids off and start healing that way. I think you could. There's an easier approach. That's just my opinion.
That's right.
And then that's where the cultural differences come. Because I'm like, we can just go talk to the pastor. We can just go talk to the pastor. The pastor been married for 45 years.
You couldn't drag me to church to talk to a pastor. But I think even though, because it is tough, it's not rainbows and unicorns going to therapy at all. And I feel that, I think that's where respect comes in as well, because you go.
Because I'll go, and I'll continue to go. I mean, therapy, individual therapy, as you know, it helped me get through my alcoholism. Mm-hmm. Whenever I was going through the changes in my brain development, was trying to losing the soaking of all the alcohol that soaked my brain, and I had to learn how to talk again and articulate again, and have the confidence to be able to drop the imposter syndrome that I had so much of. So now, I agree with therapy, and I'm 100%.
You better agree with therapy. What does your wife do?
And I 100% support you. And if anybody ever needs any therapy, you can always reach out. Or, anytime that anybody wants to watch our programming, we really appreciate you watching our programming. My name is Tarris Troy Horton. We got like 30 seconds left.
Can I add to that real quick?
Absolutely.
If anyone needs therapy, I'll send you in the right direction. Not necessarily promoting coming to therapy with me, because I don't want to do that for this. That's, I'm full. I have a full client base. But if anybody needs guidance on how to do psychology today or how to find a right fit for them, for a therapist, I'd be willing to help and able to lead them in the right direction.
Who are you?
Tammy Siri Horton.
And I'm Tarris Troy Horton, and you've watched our first episode ever of our Blended Journey podcast.